This, right behind me, is a 5K iMac I only paid $380 for. So, I wonder, was it worth it? So yeah, this is a late 2014 27-inch iMac I purchased off of eBay. Opening up this rather large box sits the iMac wrapped neatly in a large amount of bubble wrap, which is a good thing because this thing weighs nearly 30 pounds. Of course, now I need to adjust my current setup, which only involves removing this third monitor connected to my PC, and now to set up the Mac. Turning on the computer brings me right to the setup screen. So far, everything has been smooth setting up the Mac until I get past internet connectivity, where we can see it has a computer management lock set to a university out in Arkansas. At this point, my heart almost sank because I could not continue on with the setup. So I booted into recovery mode where I was able to wipe the drive completely and actually install macOS off of an external drive because I had a general understanding that only wiping the base partition where macOS was installed was only wasting my time. And about 30 minutes later, it was done installing. Back to the setup screen. I crossed my fingers hoping that the system management was gone, and what do you know? It was actually gone, which means that the system management integration was only installed through EFI and not on the T2 chip like in newer Macs. And now we can continue on throughout the rest of the setup and finally onto the desktop. Here we can see that this Mac is loaded with a 4 GHz Intel Core i7 4790K, 16 GB of RAM, AMD Radeon graphics, and a 1TB M.2 SSD. General usability was great, especially with the gorgeous 5K display. Video playback on YouTube worked well, being able to stream 4K just fine. Using Adobe Photoshop was also a breeze. Editing photos on this display is great and definitely the best I've ever used. I'll be sure to use this computer for this kind of stuff in the future. Unigine Valley at 1440p high settings ran really well, scoring with about 40 FPS and whatever scores on the screen because I kind of forgot. Being able to dual boot Windows using Boot Camp is handy, especially for gaming and other programs only compatible with Windows. And here, Windows installed just fine. BeamNG Drive at 1440p normal settings ran at about 30 FPS. Considering how spec-intensive this game is, I'd say it runs pretty well. GTA 5 at 1440p high settings ran phenomenal, getting a constant 60 FPS with VSync turned on. Last but not least, we've got Minecraft at 4K with 16 chunks enabled. Ran crazy well, getting well over 150 FPS constantly. Considering that this is a machine that doesn't really have gaming in mind, it's overall pretty solid. Keeping in mind the specs and performance, the downside to owning an iMac of this vintage is literally its age. This thing is coming up on 9 years old this year and isn't supported with anything later than Big Sur. But for me, it is perfectly fine because this thing is capable with most things I need and still has a ton of life left in it. So this is it. A 5K iMac I paid a little under $400 for. Was it worth it? Yes, absolutely. If you enjoyed watching this video, please consider leaving a like and possibly consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.